Chosen one, people who used to dismiss you, ignore you, or treat you like you were invisible, are now staring at you like they've seen a ghost. Except this ghost has more power in their presence than they ever had when they were trying to please everyone. This is the emergence of someone who was always meant to command attention, respect, and space, and the people who used to walk all over you are absolutely losing their minds because they can feel their old power over you evaporating with every breath you take. People who thought they knew you are genuinely confused. They're watching you move through life with a confidence they've never seen before, and frankly, it's making them uncomfortable. Some are fascinated, others are intimidated, but nobody can look away from what you've become. The shift is so profound that you probably catch yourself being surprised by your own behavior sometimes. You speak up in meetings where you used to stay silent. You walk away from conversations that used to trap you for hours. You make decisions in minutes that would have paralyzed you for weeks before. This isn't you pretending to be confident. This is you finally expressing the power that was always there, buried under years of conditioning and self-doubt. Let's be honest about what got you here. You spent years being everyone's go-to person, the one who always said yes, the one who bent over backwards to make others comfortable. You were conditioned from an early age to believe that your worth came from how much you could give, how little you complained, and how easy you made life for everyone else. They used you, plain and simple, friends who only called when they needed something, family members who expected you to sacrifice your dreams for their comfort, romantic partners who took your loyalty for granted while giving you scraps of attention. In return, colleagues who claimed credit for your ideas while you stood quietly in the background. The worst part wasn't even the using. It was how invisible you felt, despite giving so much of yourself away. You poured from an empty cup until you had nothing left, and still, people acted like your contributions didn't matter. They saw your kindness as weakness, your generosity as desperation, your loyalty as something they were entitled to receive. You became an expert at reading rooms, anticipating needs, and solving problems before anyone even asked. You developed an almost supernatural ability to sense what others wanted from you and deliver it before they had to request it. This skill made you incredibly valuable to people, but it also made you incredibly exhausted. The pattern was always the same. Someone would have a crisis, and suddenly you were their lifeline. They'd call at all hours, expect immediate responses to their messages, and treat your time like it belonged to them. You'd drop everything to help, because that's what good people do, right? But once their crisis passed, they'd disappear back into their own lives until the next emergency arose. You hit a breaking point where continuing to live that way felt impossible. The pain of being unseen, unappreciated, and constantly drained finally outweighed your fear of disappointing people. That breaking point was actually your breakthrough moment, though you couldn't see it at the time. The final straw might have been someone you'd helped countless times, acting like you were being unreasonable for having needs of your own. Or maybe it was realizing that people who claimed to care about you never asked how you were doing, unless they needed something. Or perhaps it was the gut-wrenching moment when you understood that you'd been so busy taking care of everyone else, that you'd completely lost touch with who you actually were underneath all that giving. Something shifted deep inside you during those darkest moments. While everyone else was busy taking you for granted, you started taking inventory of your life. You began seeing patterns you'd been blind to for years. The same types of people kept showing up. The same scenarios kept repeating. The same feelings of emptiness kept returning, no matter how much you gave. This awakening wasn't gentle or spiritual in the way people imagine. It was raw and uncomfortable, and forced you to face truths about yourself that hurt to acknowledge. You realized you'd been living your entire life seeking validation from people who were never going to give it to you. You'd been trying to earn love from individuals who saw your love as something they deserved, rather than something precious you were choosing to share. The clarity hit you like lightning. You weren't put on this earth to be anyone's doormat, emotional support system, or convenient solution to their problems. You have gifts, talents, and perspectives that are genuinely valuable, and you'd been practically giving them away to people who couldn't even be bothered to say thank you. This realization changed everything about how you saw yourself and your relationships. You stopped asking why people treated you poorly and started asking why. You allowed it. You stopped focusing on what others needed from you and started paying attention to what you needed for yourself. You began questioning beliefs you'd held your entire life. The idea that being selfless was the highest virtue started feeling like a trap designed to keep you small. The notion that you should always put others first began looking like a recipe for resentment and burnout. The concept that your worth came from your usefulness to others started seeming like a form of emotional slavery. During this period, you probably felt like you were going crazy. Everything you'd been taught about how to be a good person was being turned upside down in your mind. You started wondering if you were becoming selfish, narcissistic, or cold. But deep down, you knew that what you were actually becoming was free. While you were going through this internal revolution, most people in your life had no idea what was happening. On the surface, you probably seemed the same. You might have even continued being helpful and kind during this period. But underneath, you were completely rewiring how you operated in the world. You started paying attention to how people spoke to you, how they requested things from you, and most importantly, how they responded when you weren't immediately available to meet their needs. You began noticing who celebrated your wins and who seemed uncomfortable when good things happened in your life. The transformation was happening in your thoughts, your standards, and your boundaries, but it wasn't visible yet. You were like a butterfly forming inside a cocoon, completely changing while appearing unchanged from the outside. During this time, you probably felt more alone than ever. The people around you had no idea you were evolving beyond the version of yourself they were comfortable with. You were outgrowing relationships, situations, and even parts of your own identity, but you had to do it in silence because nobody would have understood what you were going through. This isolation was necessary, chosen one. You needed space to figure out who you were when you weren't performing for others or molding yourself to fit their expectations. You needed to discover your own voice without the noise of everyone else's opinions drowning it out. You started doing small things differently. Maybe you stopped responding to messages immediately. Perhaps you began saying, "Let me think about it," instead of automatically agreeing to requests. You might have started expressing preferences you'd kept hidden for years, or admitting when something didn't work for you. These tiny changes felt massive to you because they represented a fundamental shift in how you related to yourself and others. Each small act of self-respect was like a muscle that had been dormant for years, finally getting exercised. It felt strange and uncomfortable at first, but it also felt undeniably right. Then you stepped out of that cocoon, and everything changed. People who thought they knew exactly who you were suddenly found themselves face to face with someone they didn't recognize. The person who used to apologize for taking up space now commands attention simply by existing. The individual who used to shrink to make others comfortable now stands tall and takes up every inch of space they deserve. Your voice carries weight now. When you speak, people listen because there's an authority in your tone that wasn't there before. You're not louder or more aggressive. You're just completely sure of what you're saying and comfortable with the fact that not everyone will like it. The way you move through the world has changed dramatically. You make decisions based on what feels right to you rather than what will make others happy. You say no without elaborate explanations or apologies. You walk away from conversations that drain you and toward experiences that energize you. This new version of you makes choices that prioritize your well-being, your growth, and your happiness. You're still kind, still generous, still caring, but now these qualities come with boundaries attached. You love people, but you love yourself enough to not accept poor treatment in return. The change in your physical presence is unmistakable. You stand differently, walk differently, even breathe differently. There's a groundedness to you now that wasn't there before. You're not floating through life trying to please everyone. You're planted firmly in your own truth and moving from that stable foundation. Your conversations have transformed too. You no longer feel compelled to fill every silence, agree with every opinion, or smooth over every uncomfortable moment. You can sit with tension without rushing to resolve it. You can express disagreement without apologizing for having a different perspective. You can end conversations when they're not serving you without feeling guilty about it. Hold that thought for a moment. I need your attention for something very important. For the first time, we're revealing everything we know about personal power, healing yourself and healing others. No filters, no holding back. We have been quietly adding all the occult secrets we've collected over literal years of spiritual practice. The techniques and wisdom that transformed us from controlled pawns into conscious creators are now available to those ready to walk the same path. This is your invitation to join Obsidian Inner Order and support our platform so we can continue growing our megaphone to reach other chosen ones waiting for activation. By joining the Obsidian Inner Order, you're not just gaining access to forbidden knowledge, you're becoming part of a movement that's rewriting reality itself. It's a 360 win for all of us. Link is in the description. The people in your life are having very different reactions to this transformation, and their responses are telling you everything you need to know about who they really are. Some people are genuinely celebrating this change. They're the ones who always saw your potential and are thrilled to watch you step into your power. These individuals feel inspired by your transformation and see it as permission for their own growth. They love this new version of you because they always loved the real you. They just had to wait for you to love yourself enough to let that person emerge. These supporters might say things like, "I've been waiting for you to see what I've always seen in you," or "This confidence looks amazing on you." They're not threatened by your growth because they were never trying to keep you small. They might even admit that they sometimes worried about how much you gave away to people who didn't appreciate it. Others are confused and slightly uncomfortable. These are people who benefited from the old version of you, but aren't necessarily bad people. They're having to adjust their expectations and learn new ways of relating to you. Some of them will make this adjustment successfully, and your relationships will become stronger and more authentic. Others will struggle with the change and may gradually fade from your life. You'll hear comments from this group like, "You've changed," said in a tone that suggests change is inherently bad, or "You used to be so easygoing," as if being easy to take advantage of was a virtue. They're not necessarily trying to manipulate you, but they're definitely struggling to adapt to a dynamic where your needs matter as much as theirs. Then there are the people who are genuinely angry about your transformation. They're the ones who built their relationship with you around what you could do for them rather than who you are as a person. They're panicking because their free emotional labor, constant validation, and endless availability just disappeared overnight. These individuals are doing everything they can to get the old you back. They're making you feel guilty for having boundaries, selfish for prioritizing yourself, and difficult for refusing to bend to their will. They're using every manipulation tactic they can think of because they desperately need you to go back to being someone they can control and use. There's another group you might not have noticed yet, the people who are quietly observing your transformation from a distance. These individuals are watching how you navigate this change, how you handle the pushback, and how you maintain your newfound sense of self despite pressure from others. Some of these watchers are people who wish they had your courage. They see you living authentically and wonder if they could ever be brave enough to make similar changes in their own lives. You've become a case study for them, proof that it's possible to change patterns that seemed set in stone. These admirers might not say much directly, but you'll notice them paying close attention to how you handle various situations. They're taking mental notes on your responses to manipulation, your methods for setting boundaries, and your techniques for staying centered when others try to throw you off balance. Others are watching because they're intimidated by what you represent. Your transformation forces them to confront their own compromises, their own people-pleasing patterns, their own fear of disappointing others. Seeing you break free makes them uncomfortable about their own choices to stay trapped. These observers often won't say anything directly, but you can feel their attention. You might notice certain people being awkward around you or avoiding eye contact. They're processing the fact that you're no longer the person they thought they could predict and control. Your presence alone is now challenging people to examine their own lives, and not everyone is ready for that level of self-reflection. There's also a subset of watchers who are studying you to try to figure out how to get back the control they once had. They're analyzing your behavior, looking for cracks in your newfound confidence, weaknesses they can exploit, or ways to trigger your old people-pleasing responses. These individuals haven't accepted that you've changed permanently. They're still hoping this is just a phase they can wait out or manipulate away. The most telling reactions come from people who actively tried to keep you small. These individuals were threatened by your potential, even when you couldn't see it yourself. They made subtle comments designed to undermine your confidence, dismissed your ideas, or found ways to make you doubt your own perceptions. They needed you to stay insecure because your insecurity made them feel better about themselves. They required your light to stay dim because your brightness highlighted their own unwillingness to grow. They wanted you confused about your worth because your clarity would have exposed how poorly they were treating you. Now that you've stepped into your power, their old tactics don't work anymore. The comments that used to make you second-guess yourself now roll off your back like water. The manipulation strategies that once controlled your behavior now seem transparent and pathetic. The guilt trips that used to send you running back to them with apologies now just confirm that you made the right choice in distancing yourself. These people are experiencing a level of panic they've never felt before because they've lost access to someone who was essential to their sense of superiority. They can no longer use you as their emotional dumping ground, their confidence boost, or their convenient solution to problems they should be solving themselves. Some of them are trying to find new targets. Other people they can manipulate and control the way they used to control you. Others are actually being forced to face their own issues now that they can't project them onto you or distract themselves. By managing your life, the most desperate among them might escalate their behavior temporarily, trying harder to push your buttons or create drama that forces you to engage with them. They're testing whether your boundaries are real or just for show. This is actually a good sign. It means they're starting to understand that the old version of you isn't coming back. While all this drama is playing out around you, something beautiful is happening in your actual life. The energy you used to spend on people who didn't appreciate you is now available for experiences, opportunities, and relationships that actually serve your growth. You're attracting different types of people now. Individuals who are secure in themselves, who celebrate your success instead of feeling threatened by it, who offer genuine reciprocity in relationships rather than just taking what they can get. These connections feel completely different from what you're used to. Easier, more natural, more supportive. Your decision-making process has completely changed. Instead of asking, what will make others happy, you're asking, what feels aligned with who I'm becoming, instead of how can I avoid conflict. You're wondering, what would someone who respects themselves do in this situation? This shift in how you approach choices is creating a completely different life experience. You're saying yes to things that excite you and no to things that drain you. You're investing time in people who invest time in you. You're building a life that actually fits who you are rather than who you thought you should be. The quality of your daily experience has improved dramatically. You wake up feeling more energized because you're not dreading interactions with people who drain you. You go to sleep feeling more satisfied because you spent your day on things that matter to you. You feel more like yourself than you have in years because you're finally living according to your own values instead of everyone else's expectations. Even your physical health might be improving as the stress of constantly managing other people's emotions and needs lifts from your shoulders. You're sleeping better, eating more intentionally, and taking better care of yourself because you finally believe you deserve care. Your transformation isn't just about you. Every person who watches you break free from old patterns, every individual who sees you refuse to accept poor treatment, every observer who witnesses you choosing yourself over others' comfort, is receiving a powerful message about what's possible. You're proving that people can change, that boundaries can be established even in long-term relationships, that it's never too late to start honoring your own worth. Your example is giving others permission to examine their own lives and make changes they've been afraid to make. The courage you're demonstrating in living authentically is inspiring people you don't even know you're affecting. Someone is watching how you handle pushback and learning that they can survive it too. Someone else is seeing how you prioritize your well-being and realizing they have permission to do the same. You've become living proof that it's possible to evolve beyond who you used to be, even when that evolution makes others uncomfortable. You're demonstrating that authenticity is worth the temporary discomfort of disappointing people who preferred you smaller, quieter, and more manageable. Some people might even be learning from you without consciously realizing it. They're absorbing the energy of someone who knows their worth and treats themselves accordingly. They're witnessing what it looks like to set boundaries without being cruel, to prioritize yourself without being selfish, to demand respect without being aggressive. The most important thing to understand about this whole process is that the power you're expressing now was always inside you. The confidence, the clarity, the ability to set boundaries, the courage to prioritize yourself. None of this is new. You just finally gave yourself permission to access what was always yours. The people who are freaking out about your transformation are reacting to the emergence of your authentic self. They're not seeing someone completely different. They're seeing someone who was always there, but hidden under layers of conditioning, people-pleasing, and fear of rejection. Your job isn't to make anyone comfortable with your growth. Your responsibility is to continue honoring the person you've worked so hard to become, to keep choosing authenticity over approval, and to trust that the right people will love this version of you even more than they tolerated the old one. The individuals who can't handle your transformation were never your people anyway. They were attached to what you could do for them, not who you are as a person. Losing those connections isn't a loss. It's making space for relationships based on genuine appreciation rather than convenient utility. The power you're wielding now extends beyond personal relationships into every area of your life. You're making career decisions based on what excites you rather than what feels safe. You're choosing living situations that support your growth rather than just accepting whatever's available. You're investing in experiences that expand your horizons rather than just going through the motions. This is just the beginning of what's possible for you. The courage you've developed in transforming your relationship with yourself will continue expanding into every area of your life. The boundaries you've learned to set will become stronger and clearer. The confidence you've cultivated will grow into an unshakable sense of self-worth. You're going to continue attracting people and opportunities that match this new level of authenticity. Your life will keep rearranging itself to support the person you're becoming, rather than accommodating the person you used to be. The mission you're on, whether you call it that or not, will continue expanding as more people witness what's possible when someone chooses to honor their own worth. Your transformation is a gift to yourself, to the people who are ready to receive the inspiration it offers, and to a world that desperately needs examples of what authentic living looks like. Keep being exactly who you're becoming, chosen one. The people who matter will adjust, and the ones who can't were never meant to stay anyway. The most beautiful part of this journey is that you're not becoming someone new. You're finally becoming who you always were underneath all the conditioning and compromise. You're not putting on a mask of confidence. You're taking off the mask of insecurity that never belonged to you in the first place.